All right, we're live. Back to it. So I wanted to play this clip. No, not that clip. This clip from Beat the Press about Barstool Sports and the Bruins. Let's see what the fine media commentators at Beat the Press on taxpayer-funded WGBH have to say about the Bruins. Barstool.
Beat the Press about Barstool Sports, which started out as an obscure Boston startup, but is now one of the biggest names in sports media. Well, Barstool is back in the news once again, thanks to a partnership with the Boston Bruins that some people find deeply problematic. Adam has more.
Some people. Most people don't. Most people like Barstool. It's the scolds. It's the cultural scolds. And this whole episode is great as far as what's happening right now, because I think we're sort of on the other side of this. Everybody's tired of it. If you don't like Barstool, don't listen. I like them. I don't like everything. That Francis kid is hilarious. Dave's funny. I enjoy it. They make me laugh. That's why I like it. If I didn't like it, I wouldn't watch. Enough of this. This cancel culture has to stop, and we're going to get into that right here. So...
The second game of the Stanley Cup Final was a disappointment for the Boston Bruins and their fans, including Barstool Sports founder Dave Portnoy. That's Portnoy hanging out with three Bruins players in the Barstool offices. The team is clearly comfortable with that relationship. And this week, fans attending Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Finals got Barstool-branded rally towels. Problem is, Portnoy and Barstool also have some baggage.
We want to see you sex it up and be slutty. And Sam Ponder, you slut.
This was 5 years ago, this whole episode. Who cares? First of all, Dave apologized for it a long time ago. Every time the woke crowd comes at Barstool, first of all, they're not that controversial. They're not that controversial. They bring up one or two clips of Dave saying this, which probably regrets just because of the headache of it. But it's 5 years ago, and they're still thriving. Their business model's fantastic. They're growing by leaps and bounds. At what point do they give up? At what point do the scolds give up? Because it's beyond any comprehension.
That's Portnoy in 2014 talking about ESPN host Samantha Ponder. Later, Ponder's complaints about that tone helped derail a new ESPN Barstool TV show, and Portnoy told his Twitter followers to get angry.
Right now, I feel like I'm slowly suffocating her on an internet online war, and I'm excited.
All of which gets at two recurring complaints about Barstool, how it depicts women and how the site's fans go after its critics. That led several journalists to question the Bruins' move. Among them, the Boston Herald's.
Is that really such a bad thing? Depiction of women, or what was the phrasing here? Hang on, let me dial it back a little bit. I want to know the exact phrasing.
All of which gets at two recurring complaints about Barstool, how it depicts women and how the site's fans.
How it depicts women. Oh, God. All right. I've kind of paused on the part where, they put on pretty girls. Okay. Big deal. Occasionally, believe it or not, people don't mind looking at pretty women. Pretty people get a lot of privilege in this world. They get a lot of attention. They make more money. They do well. It's okay to put pretty people on the internet. That's what Instagram is. That's essentially their business model. If you put on on pretty people, they're going to get more attention, and ugly people probably tend to not like that. Look, the same crowd seems to be going after Barstool over and over again, and they keep losing. And I'm really glad this is happening in terms of the fight, because they keep winning. They keep winning over and over and over again. They're getting bigger. They're making more money. They're growing into, I think, new offices. They're hiring more people. They just hired Kirk Minahan, who was quick tangent. He was the #1 radio host for morning drive time, which is the key drive time or key time for any radio station in Boston. And the terrestrial radio station let him go because they were too cowardly to actually, let him do what he wanted to do. He just got hired by Barstool, and they're hopefully going to let him do whatever he wants to do with his podcast. That's growth. That's positive. There's something that's turned in the culture war. I think that's taking place. It's not as effective as it used to be. The hand wringing and pearl clutching.
Let's go after its critics.
Let's see what they have to
That
say.
led several journalists to question the Bruins' move. Among them, the Boston Herald's Marissa Ingemi, who says she was quickly bombarded with harassing tweets and voicemails. The Bruins aren't commenting, but Portnoy is taking a victory lap, tweeting, "The towel thing has reinvigorated my desire to crush and eviscerate all my enemies. So, thank you."
So, obviously the Boston Bruins should have answered the Herald's questions, but
no comment.
Yeah.
Why? Who cares? This is so nothing. The people that are complaining don't watch hockey, don't care about hockey. They're doing it to pick a fight. We have something called freedom of association in this country. Anybody can work with anybody they want, whether you find them distasteful or not. Again, don't listen.
Nothing. What is the obligation, do you think, Adam, or anybody here, of the Boston Bruins to take into consideration the content of Barstool, any media organization?
Zero obligation. Zero obligation. It's a business move. They can do whatever they want. They're not the Taliban. It's Barstool Sports.
Or any product, for that matter. I don't care what it is, soap or anything, when they're just simply doing a sponsorship.
Boy, that's a big question. Can you go to John first? Wait. What's the obligation of any business to take into
consideration what somebody is selling?
Morals, ethical things?
I feel like any business that's embarking on a partnership with a media outlet needs to be comfortable with the way that media outlet operates, right? And my assumption here is that the Bruins have determined that whatever downside they faced in partnering with Barstool was far outweighed by the upside. I mean, it's hard to overstate, and I find a lot of what they do really problematic. It is
big
really
upside.
Hard to overstate how big Barstool is. They have this podcast, Spittin' Chicklets. It's their hockey podcast. It is, I think, the biggest hockey podcast in the world. There are NHL players on it all the time. They've got that Pardon My Take podcast, which consistently gets huge ratings. They've built up this gargantuan.
Kirk Minahan today.
Yeah, they hired Kirk Minahan today. So my assumption is the Bruins went into this eyes wide open and decided, okay, we might not like some of the other bad stuff. We didn't even get into the naked pictures of Tom Brady's kid back in the day, all that kind of thing. But I think the Bruins.
Maybe a little more clarification on that, Adam. I'm not gonna, I want to keep this episode short and just cover what was going on, but a little more clarification of naked pictures of the kid in that whole episode. You don't have to just leave that hanging out there. Come on, buddy.
Bruins probably decided this is good for us as a net equation.
I agree. I think probably they looked at it and they thought net it was good for them. I don't think it's good for them. I think it's a bad look at a good time for the organization when they're on the cusp perhaps of another Stanley Cup. I don't agree with it. I don't think that Barstool Sports is a positive organization. I think it's a corrosive organization, just my opinion. I think it's sexist, it's mean-spirited, and I don't pay much attention to it, but I know they're very popular.
They're not sexist. They're not sexist. Maybe mean-spirited. If you've ever listened to KFC, and probably now Kirk, mean-spirited is, come on, guys. I did a lot of work with Mike back in 2016 covering the 2016 election. I was on with him. We were doing primary night coverage and debate coverage, well, probably with Mike, mostly primary night coverage over at NBC Boston, NECN. It's disappointing. There's a lot of humor, guys, and Barstool Sports is entertainment. It is a form of entertainment, and why it's taken so seriously is beyond me. This has started to bleed into the comedy clubs, and if you follow comedians and listen to comedy podcasts, you hear about this quite a bit. The scolds are coming for them too. But it's turned. I think we've turned a corner. There might still be incidents of people going after other people, but stuff like this is having less and less effect, which is why the Bruins did this, and it's a good thing. So I think this is a positive marker for
popular,
us as a
and
society.
I think that it's just not good for the Bruins right now. I don't think it's a good company to be associated with. It's good for the Bruins brand.
Well, you know, it's always about your brand and reputation when you enter into a relationship like this. And the Barstool brand is very popular, but it's also toxic, as Adam and Mike point out. What I don't understand about this is that doing this at a...
It's not toxic. It's not toxic. If it were toxic, they'd be going out of business. Clearly, they have done something that a lot of people like. Maybe they're tired of the PC bullshit nonsense. Maybe they just think they're funny. Maybe it's entertaining and good to listen to, all of which I probably agree with. I mean, and first of all, they're not that edgy. I mean, we're talking about, at the most, rated R conversations, but most of this stuff is kind of PG-13. There's way more. Uh-oh. I just lost something in the stream here. Uh-oh. Damn it, technical difficulties. All right, anyway, I'm going to end this because I can't play the rest of the clip, apparently. Anyway, go Barstool, go Kirk, enjoy it, bye.